你哋好，歡迎收聽阿仔阿女點解你咁嘅？我係 Eva， 呢個 podcast 係為啲父母而設，特別係啲面對緊青春期孩子挑戰嘅父母。喺呢度我哋會一齊探討青少年行為改變嘅挑戰，點樣應對佢哋青春期嘅困難，同時分享父母嘅經歷同埋小貼士。最緊要係提供一個支持父母社群嘅平台。今日呢一集有啲唔同喎，因為今集嘅嘉賓主要平時都係講英文嘅，所以我哋第一個英文版本就咁誕生咗啦。Okay, let's switch gear and start today's conversation. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Lately, we have been hearing some really heartbreaking news involving teenagers here in Malaysia that is even hard to process. A teenager killing his school crush, another case involving sexual assault at school, and even a 10-year-old boy found unconscious in the school toilet. These stories often leave parents feeling helpless, unsure how to even start the right conversations with their teenagers. Today, we are delighted to have Pastor Jason from Every Nation Church Malaysia joining our conversation. Pastor Jason, thank you very much for making time to be with us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Eva, for having me.
Thank you. Before we dive in, could you start by sharing what inspired you begin working with teens and how your perspective of faith has shaped you, what you have learned about guiding and understanding them?
Yeah, there's many ways to look at even my decision to be involved in religion at such a young age with young people at my age. And I just want to give a disclaimer. Some people think, oh, anyone who goes into religion, that's because they can't study. I graduated with a first-class honors, so it's not because I flunk in my studies. But somewhere along the line, I started to wonder, I think our young people deserve the best of our efforts. They do. They deserve our attention. They deserve our time, our energy. And I think somewhere along the way, I was asking myself, well, who would be willing to carve out the best years, their prime years, if I can say, for the young people? And it could be my faith and my personal conviction. I decided to say yes. So that's one way to look at just my journey and my decision to focus on young people during the prime of my youth in that sense.
Okay, great. Wow, it's such how would I put it, like selfless, I would say?
I try. Mm-hmm. But I really think young people, they are worth investing, worth believing in. And I think all of us, when we were young, I wouldn't be surprised. You had people who believed in you. I had people who believed in me. Mm. And I think we are living in a day and age where sometimes many other older people, they are so caught up with so many other things. Mm. And really, I think the young people don't have enough people believing in them. Mm-hmm. So if you can be one of those, I can be one of those, I think that's what motivates us to even do this, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Okay, I think that is a calling for you to go on this journey. Wow. You have worked closely with families and young people for many years. 10?
Starting when I volunteered and then including when I became a full-time staff. Yeah, 10 actually.
10?
Wow.
How amazing, right? You are not yet a parent yourself, but you already have the experience to work with teenagers. I think it's really a blessing for you, and also for parents like us. We don't really got the chance to work with teens because we gave birth to them, and so we have to raise them from a baby, toddler, and towards the teenagers age. It's really good for you to have this privilege. So from your observations, Jason, what are some of the biggest challenges parents face in raising teenagers today?
Well, I think there are a lot of different challenges, and again, I can't speak on behalf of parents because I'm not a parent, and I can imagine every single parent. You can talk to 10 parents, and 10 parents will share different sets of challenges and all that. But I think one of the things that most parents might agree on is currently we are living in a day and age where our teenagers are hyper exposed more than any other generations and eras that came before. It could be through social media, access to phone and all that. Now, a lot of people, they like to say that the young people these days are very mature. I beg to differ. I think they are just very exposed. It does not mean maturity. In fact, if I can be so bold to say, this exposure is a problem and a challenge. Why? Because now you find so many young people, they have this mental awareness of all these different dangers and difficulties in life, depression, anxiety and all that. So they have this heightened mental awareness without the mental fortitude of an adult. So they know things that adult knows. And I'm very sure if you talk to your kid, most of the things that you thought you would know after 18 years old, all those PG-18 stuff, now kids know it at 8 years old, 6 years old, right? So they have this hyper mental awareness, yet without the mental fortitude to face through all of these different emotional pressures, anxieties, depression, and different voices. So without that mental fortitude, now you can imagine their mind space. It's not maturity, and it's actually not just exposure, it's vulnerability. Because they are so vulnerable to all these things that they are exposed to. And I think that's something that a lot of parents have to recognize, that it is a challenge.
It is.
It really is. And of course, to add to that, I think most parents can agree we are also living in a day and age where things are very fast-paced. Parents, I wouldn't be surprised you feel it. Work is fast-paced. Everybody's now doing OT. Gone were the days where you were paid extra for OT. These days, in an interview, people say, expect OT. So everybody's running harder, running faster, which means what? Less time for children. And what do parents typically do if they have no time for children? iPad. Easier, right? And sometimes we think we are doing the kid a service by entertaining them. Yet in doing so, we are reinforcing this hyper-exposed, vulnerable environment for the children. So I think this is really a downward spiral. Parents' busyness, which is caused by culture's demands, which results in children being hyper-exposed, and then it creates all sorts of problems. So that's just my point of view.
I think not just because parents are busy nowadays. Yes, they are. Apart from that, it's also easier to have me time when you have your kids around you, where everybody has a tablet or gadget, so that everybody will just mind their own business. But I also see that see this as a challenge, because many parents describe feelings of disconnect with their teenagers nowadays, because everybody is on their own world now. Like when I'm talking to my kids, sometimes they just ignore me, or they don't even responding to me. It's like this kind of disconnections. Why do you think that it happens, and how can we parents begin to bridge the gap?
Well, I think the gap, or the felt gap, is real. I think adults will feel it, and I would like to think it's not a new issue, as in even generations ago, all this thing about generational gap and all that, it's real. You have a generation that will have certain lingos, certain lived experience that the kids don't share. Take for instance, any kid born after this year, they will not know what it feels like to live in a lockdown that we felt during COVID-19 and MCO, right? So the lived experience will shape a certain understanding of the world and certain languages. So the gap is real. My thought on why the gap is felt even more these days is because back then, parents and children have shared activity. So if I'm a farmer, well, my kid could be young and we could not be speaking the same lingo, but guess what? I need them to help me out in the farm. I need them to help me out in whatever that I'm doing in the business, in the selling of fruit. So there's this shared activity and platform. I think the disconnect today is partly because this shared platform is gone. You mentioned about how the kid has an iPad, the parent has their own laptop, no more newspaper. I almost said newspaper, but gone were the days where we use newspaper. But the parents are on the TV, YouTube, Netflix. So what happens now is not only is that generational gap still there, but there is no longer a shared platform to work together, to, can I say, exist together. So the disconnect now is not just emotional, it's not just cognitive, it's actually very practical. So I think the disconnect is real. Can we solve it? Well, then it boils down to, number one, how willing are parents maybe to create shared platforms. I've heard of parents who, this was one parent that really inspired me. He knew that his children are all very different from one another. So with this particular kid who is very cerebral and loves to think, the father will actually go and read up things just to converse in a way that the kid understands. For the other person, the other kid that loves engaging in business, in money, then the parent will learn that kind of a lingo, try to see how we can work together on that, and with another, well, doing something else. Well, some parents, they will work out with their kids and create all these shared platforms with their children. But what does that mean? It means a lot of effort for the parents, a lot.
Exactly.
But here's the thing, I'm no parent and I'm not rushing into it because I recognize being a parent means effort. It means sacrifice. I'm no parent, but I've seen enough parenting to know that if I am serious about being a good parent, it means I must be serious about sacrificing time. Saying no to certain things that I would rather want and prefer. I got to learn to say no. And it's because, well, me and my wife, we know that we are not ready yet, so we are not rushing into it. And I think that's just the reality. And I think it saddens me sometimes, and again, I'm not blaming any parent, but it saddens me when some young parents, they are not ready for the effort and the sacrifice, but they are face to face with the reality of having children. Now, of course, at this point, there are parents, I can imagine, that are already living in the disconnect.
Yeah.
So you have some parents who are not there yet and they have a chance to maybe have these shared platforms and all that. But there are some parents that are already living in a disconnect. They feel that distance, they feel that gap. What then? And here's where I find the question that sometimes I might ask parents is, would you be willing to be honest with your child about how you feel? And be vulnerable with them, yet understand that you can't expect the kid to be the one to bridge the gap. And because this disconnect wasn't formed overnight, it was formed through years of, it could be parents being too busy, neglecting certain words that are used. You can imagine that even when a parent becomes honest and say, I feel this disconnect, I don't like it, are you willing to connect? Then my second question to the parent is, are you okay for your child to say no? Or rather, not yet. And here's where the parents themselves will need to do a heart check. If my child says no, if my child says not yet, and I feel agitated, I feel anxious, then the question is, why am I feeling that? And here's the truth, for some parents, it is not just the desire to connect with their kids that drives them to want to connect. It's their shame of being seen as a failed parent that drives them to want to connect. And what happens now is that desire to connect is still driven from a self-centered place. And guess what? Teenagers especially, they are not dumb. And they can sniff it out. When that connection, that desire for connection is genuine, then maybe, just maybe, after a while, the teen might go from no to not yet, and maybe I'm willing to try. So that's just my quick thoughts regarding that.
Yeah, but it could take a long time,
Of course.
because the gap has been so big.
Yes.
And it really takes a lot of time. And what we can actually support the parents, because they may give up halfway.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It will take a long time. Because if I'm thinking about a teen that has been disconnected with their parents and now the teen is 15 years old,
Yeah.
don't expect the connection to form in 15 days.
No, absolutely
It
not.
has been 15 years of disconnect, 15 years of this difficulty in feeling attached, feeling safe. It will take time. So in the meantime, well, for parents, I can imagine having other parents who are going through this journey, conversing with them, or having platforms like this, being encouraged by the podcast. I think all of this is good because why? What happens is this. It helps the parents to be reassured that this is okay. The pace is fine. It's slow, it's not fast, but it's fine. It's okay. Because every other parent is facing this slow pace, this difficult thing. But guess what? To those who persevere, to those who don't give up, I've seen stories where later on when a kid hits their late teens, steps into adulthood, because the parent does not give up, eventually there's hope for restoration. But for those who give up, for those who get tired along the way, then it becomes even harder.
Yeah.
So I think platforms like this, like what you're doing right now, Eva, is so helpful for so many parents. And for any parents out there, reach out, have a support group of other parents who have this same desire, who's on this journey, because you don't have to do this alone. I really don't think you should do this alone.
Well said, well said. So, Jason, we have seen some heartbreaking news lately involving teenagers, violence, bullying, and even tragedies. What do you think are some of the underlying issues behind these behaviors?
I think at the point of this particular conversation, right, we have seen in the news just really tragic, really horrible things that happen among young people. I mean, who would have thought things like rape, things like murder, and bullying to the point of the victim being pushed to suicide, things like that. To think this would happen in our schools, that's terrible. And you know, if you ask 10 people might give all their different opinions, right? Some will point to the games they play. Some will say it's the movies, the films they are watching and all of that. Some will blame the parents for negligence. I think everybody will have their own theory on this. So I can only share my theory on this, right? And people can agree to disagree. Here's my thought. I think the problems we see in high schools today are also the same problems we see in the marketplace and beyond.
Right?
Bullying happens in the marketplace. Sexual harassment happens in the marketplace. Of course, I hope murder doesn't happen in the marketplace, but the truth is, tragic things like that, evil things like that happen. So, that actually puts things in perspective. Because this is not just a high school issue. This is a worldwide issue happening even among the adults. It's just that now, whatever is happening among the adults is happening among the children. Everybody is having this issue. So, when we look at it this way, I find it puts things into perspective, because if we blame the games, do the adults play the games?
They do.
Some don't, but they still engage in corruption and bullying. Right? They don't necessarily need to play the games that the teenagers play.
Different kind of game.
But they are still engaging in very evil acts. So it can't just be superficial things like the shows they watch and the games they play. It's something deeper. And here's where I come to my theory, and it's this. We have lost a sense for the price of life. We have devalued life, other people's life. So much so that when we look at other people's life, we now, sometimes in our head, implicitly have a certain price on them, or certain value of worth, such that if we deem them valuing less than us, we are okay doing all kinds of terrible things to them, manipulating them, bullying them, ostracizing them simply because we think they're worth less than us. The issue, at least from my perspective, is this. It's a price of life issue. It's not just about the games. It's not just about the films we watch. We as a culture have lost what it means to value life.
Right.
We only know how to value our own life. And so somewhere in our mind, we think our life is higher and of greater worth than anyone else's life, so much so that for my sake, my desires, my needs, my wants, my ego, I'm willing to do anything on someone else. So I think it goes deeper than just games, films, social media. I really think it's a deeply rooted issue that is also among the adults. How much do we value life? Not just our own life, someone else's life. When we look at people who maybe from a financial standpoint earn less, do we think they are of equal value to us? Equal dignity? Because if even the adults will tell their kids, you look at that person, he earns so little. Oh, you better don't associate with this person. Better don't go near to this person. What are we teaching our children? We are teaching that, well, you can put a price tag on people's life and you can determine their worth. And the moment you think that way, can you imagine all the problems it creates? That I'm now willing and find it okay to bully someone, to rape someone for my own pleasure and amusement and needs, or even to the point of murder. So I think that's the issue. And it's not just among the youths. It's everyone, all of us.
Yeah, and it got me thinking about I think last year or the year before there was a series called Adolescents. I watched the whole series and at first I thought the boy was innocent because he keeps saying that I didn't do anything wrong. Then towards the end, then I realized the words, the sentence that he said was actually, yes, I killed her, I murdered her, I didn't do anything wrong. It's not a wrong thing to kill someone. That's the mentality our teenagers has today. I think this is really dangerous and also unhealthy.
And you can imagine why they would think that way. Because if I have deemed you to worth lesser than me, to be priced less, well, I can do whatever I want to you. And it's not wrong. It's really not. So you can imagine how the young people can be shaped to think this way. And the scary thing is, this is not just a young people issue because adults do the same. Bosses, employers can be willing to manipulate their employees or their clients because they think they are better. It's the same issue. When we deem someone else of lesser dignity, lesser esteem, lesser worth, we give ourselves the right to do all kinds of terrible, selfish, prideful things to them. And that, I think, is the problem.
Yeah. And some parents may say, my child was never like this before. I don't know, I don't understand what has changed. When come to this, we don't know whether we should blame the parents or we should blame the kids or we blame the school. We blame everybody. So how are we going to go about that?
When I saw some of this news that happened, if I can be most honest, I didn't think first to blame anyone. Instead, and this may sound odd, but I thought to myself this: if I was put in any other circumstance, I could have been that bully. I could have been that terrible person. I could have. Of course, with my faith background and all that, I really thank God that I have an environment that teaches me teaches me integrity and the value of life. But put in any other circumstance, I might have ended up the same. So why I think that's an interesting thought to consider, because instead of engaging in a blame game, could we empathize with just the level of dark things that are going on And out of that empathy, have compassion to be propelled to do something, to bring a little bit more light into this very dark world. Because here's the thing, as long as we blame everyone, we are still sitting on our comfortable couch as an observer.
Yeah.
This person's fault, this person, we are commenting and all that. And we are not doing anything. We're not. But maybe if we start to feel a certain compassion for the victim, yet also just how dark this situation is, hopefully that compassion will drive us into action. You know, there's this famous quote that says, evil triumphs when good men do nothing. Evil triumphs when we remain seated on our comfortable couch, blaming everyone else, and not stepping out into action. You know, Eva, I love this platform and what you're doing, because in your own way, you are driven into action. Because as you look at all this, I'm guessing, all right? And I'm giving the benefit of doubt, and I think it's a safe benefit of doubt. You are not sitting there trying to blame everyone else, but as you look at all the different things that's happening, the broken families, and instead of judging them, you are propelled by compassion and you are driven into action. So now when you look at the broken families, you are not judging them. Your heart is just, how can we, if not help them, help other families to not end up so broken in that sense?
Right.
We need people to move into action. Of every single level. So that will be actually my encouragement when it comes to this whole thing about the blame game. Don't blame. You'll get nowhere. You'll get comfortable. Oh my goodness, it's comfortable to just comment.
It is. Yeah.
It really is. But I hope we have that compassion enough to move into action.
How we can actually guide, how parents can guide teenagers to develop empathy, compassion, respect, or even emotional resilience.
Yeah. That's a lot. Okay? Respect,
That's a lot,
emotional
yeah. Right.
resilience and all
Yeah.
that.
Maybe we just pick empathy and respect.
Right. Empathy, respect. Of course, the quick answer is parents will need to learn to emulate that. The quick answer is I wonder if there's ways where the parent even learns to show how respect looks like between them and their kid. That's some quick answers. But with all the tragic things that are happening right now, I can imagine this. Parents might move into one of two extremes. I'm not saying all, but I can imagine the tendency to move either into the extreme of, well, protecting the kid, shielding them, and you know, this is terrible, don't think about it, don't read about it, don't look at it, right? We try to shield them from just how dark and messy and outright chaotic the world is. And then after that, you got some where, well, they're chill, right? They think that, okay, if we don't talk about it, doesn't matter. And so they move into this very complacent, might I dare say, neglect kind of a mode. Now, I think logically we know both extremes are not healthy. They are just not. Neglect is clearly not healthy. In fact, if my memory serves me right, neglect is one of those predictors of really unhealthy development in the child, more so than abuse. That's an interesting thought. So neglect is terrible. Don't end up there. Overprotection is also not good, because here's the thing. Overprotection is a myth these days. In today's day and age, with all of social media and all that, you just can't protect and try to shield your child anymore. You just can't. They will know, they will find ways to know. If not from you, not from their phones, from their friends. It's a myth. And of course, we can try to entertain the thought of I'm shielding them and all that, but we just can't. How do we hold that tension? And I think if I can propose, is this word, process it with them. Sit down, process it with them, hear their thoughts, share your thoughts, your opinions, and some of the tricky questions that you even as a parent are asking yourselves. Come on, this thing that's happening, we adults, we have so many questions in our own heads. we have things that we are confused of as well, right? What if we could lay some of these confusions, process it with our kids? So now instead of shielding our kids or neglecting it altogether, we are engaging in this awkward, uncomfortable dialogue, yet at the same time, we are drawing closer to them. I think these days, maybe again going back to what we mentioned, busyness and all that, this element of learning to process awkward conversations with their children is totally lost. Gone were the days where parents will have this birds and the bees conversation with their kid, right? But those kind of conversations matter. Processing them, what do you think of it? And when they say, oh, nothing much. What do you think about having little thoughts about it? Because I think a lot of people are having thoughts about it. What do you think about not thinking much about it? That's a weird question.
It's
right?
like guiding them to think, maybe to think deep, how to process.
Correct. But it's also for the parent to really show the kid, I'm actually interested in what you have to say. I find that sometimes teenagers use this, oh, nothing much.
Yeah.
It's to test whether the parent is actually interested.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they just want to I don't want to entertain my parents, so I just say nothing much.
I'm often surprised just how much is going on in a teen's head.
I'm interested to know.
They are thinking about so many things, and they are trying to process so many things and trying to find where they fit in. There's so much going on in their head. And sometimes it's easier to just say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine, I'm the kid. If I start talking, it's going to be very long.
Yeah.
And I can imagine my parent is so busy, after a while, they will have no time. They'll start to look at their phone, look at their WhatsApp. And when I am talking to them and they're looking at their WhatsApp, well, guess what? I just made a fool out of myself. I thought we are going to have a conversation. But the moment I share, you look at your phone. You look at your watch. So what's easier? To say, I don't know. To say, I got no thoughts. But if we could just say, you know what? The next hour, I'm putting my phone away. I'm just going to sit down. You say, I don't feel much. How do you feel about not feeling much? Or I've asked you this before. How do you feel about not feeling much? Oh, and I was so surprised you've got much to say. And so, just by asking a question to their question, not to interrogate, but to show them that actually I'm really, really interested. And I'm going to put aside everything else. I'm just going to sit here and hear you out. And I'm going to prove to you that I'm interested. Sometimes it does wonders. Now, for parents who hear this and say, oh, wow, this is like a secret recipe, I'm going to try this, and boom, it doesn't work. For a child who has come to learn for the past 15 years that my parent is not interested in what I have to say, don't expect them to suddenly think that you are interested. Just because now you show them that you are. Give them time. Prove to them again and again and again that you really are interested. And of course, this works both ways. Of course, for all the parents where your kids don't score well and in exam, and now they say they have this new study method where when they look at the workbook and they'll say, I look at the workbook, I immediately look at the answer. I've heard some students share this method, right? I look at the answer, and oh, this is the answer. I go to the next question, I look at the question, I look at the answer, and Jason, this works for me. But my parent don't believe. I say, why? Is it because your past results are not good? Yeah, but I tell them I changed my method already. They should believe, right? I already changed my method. And I'll tell them, your parent needs time to believe that your method actually works.
Right. It takes both hands.
It takes both hands. In the same way, now when the parent wants to show that actually I'm willing to listen to you, the kid needs time to believe. The kid needs time to believe that you're being serious about this. You're really serious in processing some of these things with them. Because more often than not, teenagers have so much going on in their head. Yeah.
Okay. So from your experience, how does faith or a sense of higher purpose will help teenagers navigate guilt, failure, or pain?
Maybe I will start with how faith shapes me. See, some people are of the opinion that faith is a private matter. I think faith is a personal matter, not a private matter, because I come to realize that faith has large social implications. What do I mean by that? Just now I mentioned about price of life, the value of life. Who or where do we learn that life is of high worth, value and dignity? Where do we learn that someone's value, worth and dignity is not proven by their academic achievement or by their looks or even by their capacity and ability? Where do we learn such things? It's in our faith background. Because schools don't teach that. Our schools grade us based on how smart we are. Society doesn't teach that because social media will grade you based on your looks, based on your content creation. Everywhere else will tell you that life can be priced. But it's faith that tells you life, regardless of how they are like, is of equal value, worth and dignity. So, when I recognize this and I come to realize, maybe it's because faith is kept as a private matter. That's why we see such large social implications and, might I dare say, corruption and terrible things happening right now all around us. Because faith has been kept private. But if faith now is personal, which it is for me, so now as a person, I believe life is meaningful. I believe life is of worth. Now when I look at a young person and they may be so introverted, quiet, and when I'm asking them, and trust me, even teens, when I talk to them, many of them will just answer like this, okay lo, nothing much. And these days, teens, they have all these weird gestures, and their gestures mean something. Like at this point of this recording, this means something to them, okay? If you don't know, you can ask your kid, okay? It has to do with 6, 7. So, and they have all this thing going on, and as an adult, I can look at them and say, you know what, this person is not worth my time. This person not even wanting to reply my text. Oh my goodness, not worth my effort. But it's because of my faith that taught me that life is of value. I don't give up on this kid. I don't give up on this teen. Even when the teen is giving me one-word answers, not just for days, but for months, for years. And I've had that. Teenagers that give me one-word answers for 3 to 4 years.
Seriously?
I kid you not. But because I've come to learn through my faith that life is of value and worth, that this person is of dignity and value, I did not give up. And now when this kid 4 years later faces a crisis, who does this kid turn to? The one who did not give up on him these 4 years. So, it's not just about how faith shapes teens. It starts with this. How is faith shaping me? And how is faith shaping you? Because if we are now shaped to be people who value life, can you imagine now how we can be agents of change in another teenager's life? That's my quick thought.
Okay, great. Just now off the camera, we talk about the importance of value and also purpose in young person's life. How can parents help their teenagers develop these without sounding too preachy?
Meaning in life, value in life. Here's an interesting thing. The parents don't have to say a word, yet they are still preaching all the time. Through the way they live their life. Because the way they live their life will show what they value and what is meaningful. A parent who is very caught up with, well, I hope this doesn't hurt or offend anyone, but a parent who is very caught up with career and work has just preached the message that your career is most important. Money is of more value than relationships. Your career ladder is of greater value than time spent just enjoying relationships, conversations. We are preaching in a way all the time. So, instead of thinking about what do I need to say, what do I have to tell them, is there any secret word, maybe another way to reflect is, what is our life already preaching to our kids? What kind of value is it showing? What are we telling our children is of greatest meaning in life, or have we accidentally lived in a way where we have actually showed our kids life is meaningless? It's just a rat race. It's just about getting busy, getting tired, coming back, doom scrolling, and then sleeping, waking up again, repeating the cycle, have no greater dreams. What kind of message are we preaching through our lives? You don't even need to say much.
So if you could share let me rephrase again. If you could share one message with parents raising teenagers in today's world, what would it be?
The cliche saying would be this: don't give up on the next generation. That's a cliche saying. Many of us already know this. I'll say it differently. Don't give up hope that you can be a good parent. I think many parents have given up hope on themselves to be a good parent. So because they've given up hope on themselves to be a good parent, they don't try as hard as anymore. They try, but just not as hard. They still make time, just not as much. They still put in a little effort, just not as gung-ho as before. Why? Because deep down, it's not just that they've given up hope on their kids. I think sometimes parents have given up hope on themselves being good parents. And when you've given up hope on being a good parent, well, where else do you find security? In your work, in your career? At least I can provide for the family. Does that sound familiar to many parents? At least I can work, pay the bills, give food, do the bare minimum. Is it because you have given up hope on you being a good parent? A parent where your children can look up to, your children can feel safe with, your children can open up to. Have you given up on yourself as a parent? I hope you don't. And for those who don't give up hope, well, naturally what will happen? You will do all you can. Parenting classes, workshops, training, you will do all you can to be that good parent, because you have not given hope on that day where your parent can look at you and say, Dad, Mom, I'm so happy you're my dad and mom. Yeah, that's my... It's supposed to be one sentence, but that's pretty long. That's like a paragraph.
That is a very, I would say that is a very straight to the point message where all the parents can actually take it to the heart and think about how much you have ready to sacrifice for your teenagers. All right, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much, Pastor Jason.
Thank you for having me.
sharing your thoughts and wisdom today. I definitely learned a lot. I hope you also learn a lot from Pastor Jason as well. I would like to say parenting, it's not easy.
Yep.
Even, especially a teenagers, parenting teenagers, especially in the world that teen feels more complicated and also unpredictions than ever. But conversations like these remind us that as parents, we are not powerless. We can choose to stay present, to listen, and to love our children through every season, even the hard ones. Yeah. So to all parents, whether you are watching or listening, take heart. You are not alone. Sometimes the small things we do every day, a kind word, a calm response, a listening ear, or just a hug can make the biggest difference. 如果你覺得今集嘅內容有啲意思，記住 follow 我哋阿仔阿女點解你咁嘅？我哋下集再見，拜拜。